Hi, everybody. This is week 4 of Discover Your Quantum Self. And the topic this week is, it's really a fun one to me anyway. It's what would life look like if I wasn't afraid? And this really is getting to the heart of everything that we've been talking about. We've kind of gone around things to kind of set up a safe framework in which to go into this tonight. We've circled it. We've circled around how to deal with things. We've learned some techniques for calming the brain, for breathing, for going into the heart. And we've gone way out to take a look at the quantum, to realize and get in a sense that we are more than this. We're more than just what we think we are in these packages with these lives. And so having that big picture sense and that sort of connection with the more, and also having some techniques in which to calm the body, calm the brain, then we're more able to start going in and taking a look at some of the tougher things. So remember, it's key to remember, the brain resists change. And it's the old primitive brain. It's wired to preserve life. And that looks like keep everything the same. And I think we've talked about the brain, the way it's set up, and the nervous system. It's kind of like an ICU with all the monitors and the bells and the whistles and the beeps and everything. And there's a certain parameter of normal. And we have set up our lives so that there is a normal. Whether that normal is comfortable or uncomfortable. And obviously for some of us now, we're being nudged to grow. So some things aren't as comfortable as they used to be, or we wouldn't even be here sitting and doing this. But nevertheless, the brain is wired to stay the way it has been. And when things change, whether it's a good change, a bad change, whatever, if it threatens what the brain and the nervous system considers normal, then all the bells and the whistles start going off, and panic and fear and questioning and all of that starts setting in. So we're going to find ways to start moving beyond those patterns and those programs. And actually tonight, what we're doing is finding ways to actually start seeing them and uncovering them from their disguises, and finding out how they have become so entrenched in us as a normal part of life that we all seem to accept as, hey, this is how it is. Suck it up and move on. So we want to go slow. We need to go slow here. It's really a process, this process of change. We're peeling away layers of programming and training and how things have always looked and how they've always been, to create a new normal, to create a new way of interacting and interfacing and playing and dancing with ourselves, with life, with reality. So when we start peeling these layers away, as the body, as the organism starts feeling more and more safe, through the ways that we've learned, breathing, dropping into the heart, letting go of judgment, treating ourselves with loving kindness and compassion. As some of the layers have peeled away, what we see are more layers of programming. And you go along, I mean, and everything I'm talking to you about is what I've experienced in my own life. So, you know, this isn't just out of some book somewhere. I've walked it. But you start seeing things that we've accepted as, well, yeah, normal. That's how I am. That's how it is. It's how it's always been. And suddenly one day you realize that, oh, well, who says? And, you know, it really doesn't have to be that way exactly. That there really is fear underneath what I have accepted as this little appropriate way of behaving, or just the normal way that I do behave. So so we start finding, oh yeah, oh my gosh, that too we can release. But this is the story of humanity, these layers and layers and layers that we've built up, that have been programmed into us through eons of just existing on the planet, existing with each other, surviving as humans on this planet. And yet we are being shown now, just by our own curiosity, just by our own urges, that this is not our ultimate destiny. We are really being called forth to step into more of us. And you all are feeling it, or you wouldn't be here. And I felt it too, or I wouldn't be doing this. So what our goal, it's not just our own personal goal. It may be, but it's really, it's a quantum goal. The universe is expanding. It's an expanding universe, and we are expanding with it. And the evolutionary path of being human is to move beyond these levels of programming, and to change the way we live, to change really what it means to be human, so that we are no longer pushed and shoved by fear, but we're magnetized and we're pulled and we're drawn by a vision of possibility, a vision of what it feels like to be free, and to be able to love and to express and to interact without fear, and without having to put on some way of behaving so that we think will be approved of. So that really is where we are, where we've been, and how we're going about sort of challenging these things. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Well, we do that by challenging the status quo and by taking calculated risks. First, we see it. We realize that we're uncomfortable, and then we decide, with the partnership of the universe and with the tools that we've learned, that we can challenge some of these things. Where's a window? Where's a kind of a soft spot in the box that we can push out a little bit and take a little bit of a risk and expand this thing we call human life? So we challenge the status quo, but not just willy-nilly, not just wildly. I gotta thrash down everything that stands in my way and smash everything down. We don't have to do that. The universe is very efficient and very kind. Everything we need to know about how to evolve and to grow is right here, showing up in your everyday life. You don't have to go hunting for some challenge to conquer. You're living it. You're living with it. So I wanted to share with you how this, like the title of this and the whole framework came together. It was at the end of 2015. Actually, it was in the beginning. The catalyst for it was the end of 2015, and then it was January of 2016. I was processing very deeply something quite traumatic that had happened to me. There was rejection involved, and I was very shocked. And so I was really, just really being with it and looking for information and looking for answers. I may have shared with you at another time that my mantra now, the theme of my life, has become, everything happens for me. Nothing happens to me. Boy, sometimes that's a challenge to actually live out. Sometimes you're standing there with tears streaming down your face, stamping your foot and saying, I stake my life on the fact that this is true, but damn it, show me how this is happening for me. How can this possibly be happening for me? But I believe it, and show me. This wasn't quite that extreme, but nevertheless, I was saying, okay, if this is true, if we are part of one universe and there's nothing apart from us to have anything, do anything to me, there's nobody out there. It's all one flowing organism of life. Even though there were others involved, still the universe brought it to me. So I was looking and I was processing and I was just kind of going back on some scenarios, and all of a sudden I realized something. I realized that, oh my God, approval equals safety. And it hit me so enormously. Approval equals safety. So with disapproval and rejection came a very gut level sense of being threatened, of not being okay, not being safe to be me. This is all root chakra stuff. But I wasn't safe. I wasn't secure in myself. And so I started looking, and it was almost like this whole lesson just kind of poured itself out onto the pages of my journal. And I realized that what would my life look like if I wasn't afraid of that? And how did this equation, approval equals safety, how did it start? Well, it starts, it starts in the womb. Many of us, and I believe myself included, our parents weren't ready for us. That they maybe weren't expecting us, or they're young, they're scared, they don't have any money, they don't know what to do, this isn't working out, and so right away the fetus is getting these little vibes of, I don't know how this is going to work out. They may not take care of me. But and then of course from an infant's perspective, and this is evolutionary biology, in the animal world, if a newborn is rejected for some reason because it's not perfect, it's flawed, it's stunted, malformed, whatever, it will be put out to die. It will not be nourished, it will not be nurtured, it will not be taken care of and helped to grow. So we have this very, very, very ancient coding in us that says we have to be perfect in order to stay alive. And so as we grow, that kind of becomes more complicated. So from a very simple food and shelter scenario of just simple physical survival, it starts getting more complicated. And then we have parents and friends, and how we're supposed to act in school and church, and all the ways that are put on us that we're expected to behave in order to fit in and be accepted. But it all goes back to this idea that if they approve of me, I will be safe. Even though honestly it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But when you're a little kid, obviously that's very true. You could be physically punished, you could be sent to your room without dinner, but all this stuff gets piled on and piled on and piled on. So so we're always in fear of rejection, of not being loved, of being disapproved of, and not fitting in. And it is very, very elemental. Well, we're here to break that chain. I've come to realize in my work, my healing work with people, that because I, as you know, I see energy patterns and I sense and I'm guided, that we're here to break the chains of this ancestry all the way back from the earliest days of the species, and we still have some of that coding in our genetics and our makeup and in our organism somewhere. That we are here to break the chains of those things and become sovereign beings, as if we are birthed directly from our souls, without the influence of parents and eons and generations of struggling to make it, of fitting in, and all of their own struggles and fears, which were passed on to us. Because, of course, as little kids, if we don't look good and behave well, then it reflects on them, and it triggers their sense of approval equals safety. If they're not approved of because of the way they raise their children, they are threatened. And so it gets passed on and passed on and passed on. And we're here to learn and to connect more fully with our sovereignty, with the fact that we are these spirit beings that are having this sort of virtual reality experience of being in human form for a while. So that's our destiny. And when we do that, we do step into that ability to see how to create and to be drawn forth by a vision. Because our vision is more than just surviving and having the approval of our parents and teachers so that we feel safe, but it is to create and to co-create. And we're just now beginning to learn that and to learn how that works. So as I processed this, it just made so much sense to me. And I saw how many ways we're afraid of disapproval. And I'm just going to lay them out for you now, and you can process them later. That, of course, it's parents, it's teachers, it's religion, it's God. It's almost the ultimate. Lovers, bosses. And all of that, we live in this box of trying to be appropriate. But what it all boils down to is, and this came to me later that month, is that we're afraid of ourselves. We have become so invalidated by the fear messages that we have been bombarded with, whether spoken or unspoken, simply communicated. I mean, even through today's marketing, if you're not slim enough or beautiful enough or fit enough or whatever, then again, threat to fit in. So we end up being afraid of ourselves. We become afraid to be authentic. We don't even know what authentic is. So because of that, then we start arranging our lives. We learn how to arrange our lives and act in certain ways that ensure this survival and approval. You can almost use those two words interchangeably. Well, of course, that approval is simply according to what we think the other person would approve of. So we're making it all up. We don't even know what they would approve of, and yet we're trying to project into their heads and say, what's appropriate here? And so we're constantly trying to figure that out and say, okay, how should I be acting now? How do I need to look and stand and behave and talk so that, it's good, they're happy, all's good? And so that breeds an inauthenticity. We're stiff. We start living with a certain level of tension, maybe a constant low grade level of tension. Maybe it's not so low grade, but it's there, and it becomes so much our normal that we don't even realize how tense we are. And some of you, I think, and I know I've discovered it through the practices that I've done and shared with you, of connecting with the energy of my own higher self and dropping down into my heart and breathing. And suddenly it's like, I didn't realize how I was holding, how tense I was, how I'm like on guard watching, because you're always watching for danger of, too much authenticity. I just show up. Wow, that's not okay. That's very, very scary, because I might be judged. And that's the worst thing. So so of course, this totally has an effect on how we speak, how we create, how we dream, how we dare, how we explore, or not. You see that, of course. And so as we are examining this, the phrase actually was almost spoken to me. What would life look like if I wasn't afraid? How would I dream, explore, dare, create? How would I? And we're learning that. That's our journey. And the cool thing is that once you learn these techniques of kindness and dropping down, you're not constantly actually digging at yourself to dig out your flaws. And you're not focusing on, the shadow parts of myself. You breathe, you drop in, you feel what wants to express itself. And you remember and you notice when you kind of get caught up short because maybe that's a little too out there or a little too authentic. And then you stop and you breathe again, because we know this is where we're being pulled to. We're being pulled beyond these boxes of supposed safety and approval and appropriateness to move forward. So when we live like that, something inside us, we're very programmed to believe that this state of tension is normal. That's the way it is. That's life. That's human life. You just live that way. And that one single solitary thing, that is the lie in big, bold, capital letters. That is the lie of humanity, out of which we are very gently being awakened. We are being drawn out of that safe box, kind of like a little frightened animal sticking its little head out of a hiding place, a little kitten that's poking its head out. Like, yeah, it's safe to come out. So probably the major point of this whole class series is to give you the courage to come out and to show up and to explore and experience what that feels like and what that looks like in a safe and relatively protected way, because we're protected by our souls. The universe is leading us to do that. We're not making it up and winging it and flying in the face of creation. This is creation itself saying, yes, come, we're going to do this. So we're kind of guaranteed. We're guaranteed that we're going to be okay. In one way or another, we're going to be okay. And we're going to be better than okay. And it's so exciting. Once you take that step, the universe is like, yes, come on, let's go. The universe applauds and just showers us with affirmation and confirmation that, yep, you're on it. Keep going. So looking at that and kind of understanding that and realizing, wow, and can you look at yourself and say, yeah, I'm guarded, I'm tense. I expect that, hey, this is all there is. I'm living in the box. It's my life. It's, it's whatever. That's the way my parents were. It's the way I was raised. Nothing I can do about it. Well, that's a lie too. That is the lie. There absolutely is everything we can do about it. And part of it is recognizing the story and learning ways to separate ourselves and let go of the story. So what do we do with this now? Now what do we do? How do we go about stepping through? And how do these things, these fears, how do we actually get to see them? How does it show up in our lives? Well, as I said earlier in the talk, we really don't need to go beating the bushes and looking very hard at all. Just look at your life. Just notice what shows up in your day-to-day reality and where you are and what you're feeling. And so tonight, I'm just going to take like two kinds of scenarios, which I think are pretty complete, in, as categories, to give you an idea of where to go, what to do. So the first one, and the first kind of type or scenario would be that something comes up that challenges us. And we go into this panic. Something comes up. We get chastised by the boss, or we get tasked with something that is really hard and scary, and we're already overloaded, or we've felt we've made a fool of ourselves, or we get corrected at work. We get rejected by a lover or a spouse, and we're hurt, but we panic. We panic because our safety, our very survival is being threatened, even though we may not put it in those terms. That's the root of it. That's the root of it, going back into the programming of the organism. You're afraid for your life. Is basically what it is. And of course, in the case of serious illness, financial threat, all of those kinds of things, they're very real. They seem very real, and they are a threat to physical survival. And then we learn that we can even move beyond those ideas too. So how do we get? We get angry, we panic, we get furious, we want to lash out, we get frustrated, we blame other people. We just say, well, they, blah, 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 blah. And all of that is fear in disguise. That is all a way of back off, like a wounded animal. If you approach a wounded animal, they're going to snarl at you, and they're going to try to use what strength they have to lash out and keep you away. They're protecting themselves, so they think, and we do the same thing. So what happens when that comes up? So notice the first thing, and you may, for a while, you'll probably get triggered. You'll get triggered a little bit. And when you notice yourself getting triggered, take a breath, notice the trigger. Okay. Notice your reaction. Wow, that really got me going. And remember how that feels. Remember the fear and the panic. And then, of course, breathe. So when you get to that place, like, okay, I'm noticing this, relax the brain, drop down in the heart, as a way of calling in more information. Getting out of the head gets you out of the old database of fight, flight, freeze, and fold, into the place that really is an antenna for bringing in the wisdom of your own higher self. So drop down out of the old database and the old fear-based programming, because I want to share this with you, that when we're threatened, either physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, any kind of threat, the more primitive brain parts take over, and that's the fight, flight, freeze, fold, or cower or run. But and the higher cognitive functioning actually gets shut off. And that is because, so the blood and the oxygen goes to the limbs to help you outrun that saber-toothed tiger or whatever's attacking you. And you just run. You don't think, you don't process, you don't reason. And so that happens to us, and you fall back into default. So if you've got fear-based programming in you, and you've got a lot of anger built up because perhaps you were a disempowered child or spouse, perhaps you had a very domineering parent, and when you get a boss or somebody who is going to be domineering you, all of that childhood patterning is going to come up and try to defend itself, which is not helpful and not productive anymore in these scenarios. So drop down and notice how you are feeling at that moment with compassionate neutrality. Just observe it. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Observe yourself. Notice how you feel. Angry, frustrated, embarrassed, ashamed, furious, powerlessness. Notice that. Let all those feelings reveal themselves to you while you stay down in here with your attention and breathing. Let them have space. When you do that, it sort of diffuses the energy of it. It calms the brain and nervous system so that it's not running according to old data. It's bringing new data into the brain and nervous system. I didn't act the same way. I didn't lash out. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I didn't cower. I didn't cave in. I just stepped back and noticed and breathed. And that gives you the opportunity to get more information about what's really going on. Did I really screw up? What part of this was my own doing, and what can I learn from that? Remembering again that nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. And it may simply be a way of giving you a chance to release that programming of being a poor, powerless child who's getting a dressing down unfairly from a domineering parent who is no doubt domineered by their parent on the way back. That's breaking the chain right there. You've gone a long way when you can do that toward breaking the chains that enslave you to that lineage of disempowerment and fear. So just take a breath into that. It won't be perfect every time in the beginning, but it'll be a lot better. You'll feel a lot stronger. You will appear strong instead of weak by not lashing out mindlessly like a wounded animal, but stepping back and considering. And it could very well be that the person who is, doing this to you is an absolute utter jerk and you don't deserve it at all. Well, okay, fine. So then you get to pull out of that, of reacting to their jerkness, and learn a new way. And you actually are in a much more empowered position than they are. So try that. Try that instead of reacting from the old fear programming. You are responding from a place of new knowledge and new empowerment. And the more you are able to put these kinds of things in practice, the more information you're going to get. You're just going to suddenly know stuff. And you're going to be able to handle things much more effectively and learn new techniques for whatever it is you're doing, for being in a relationship, for handling things at work, whatever the scenario was that came up. I like to share when I do my healing sessions, and I'm clearing chakras, and the third chakra is our will and our purpose. It's how we show up and how we move forward. And we, all this programming stuff, it's in all the chakras, but this will and how we engage and how we move forward and how we present in the world. A lot of times I've started getting this visual when I'm unhooking people from their chains that have bound them to their lineages of family, of culture, of programming through the years. I get this scenario of like a dog on a harness. You know how it comes, they're leashed at the back, right in the middle of their back. And so this picture comes of, this dog with this owner, and the dog's on a leash and they're walking through a park, and the dog wants to run and play. It's springtime and wants to chase butterflies and chase frisbees and go sniff all the trees and pee on all the trees. And they're just can't, the owner is holding them back. And so imagine that what we want to do now is unleash ourselves from these old patterns and programs that are holding us back from the dream. And just reach down and unhook yourself from whatever your father said, your mother said, the teacher said, the priest and nun said, your wife or your husband or your lover or whoever. Unleash yourself from that and simply stand or sit and feel yourself encased and saturated in a column of white light that is your very own soul. That is your lineage. And take a breath into that right now. Feel that new lineage of your eternal, divine, limitless soul expression come down around you and saturate every cell of your being right now. And then feel it soak into the ground as if it's a great shower of living light that is saturating the earth with you, with your energy, with your presence. This is your destiny. This is who and what you really are. So feel that now and feel it wash away the ties to the story. Well, I'm this way because of my father or my mother or this or that. Wash it away. Wash it away. It can't get into this column. It's out there. It's done. It's past life. Past life. Good. Very good. So that's one way. That's one way these opportunities come to us. Another way is that we have a stirring inside ourselves. We feel something wants to change. Something wants to give. I feel stuck, or I just feel stagnant. I feel like, okay, I got here in my life, and now what? I feel like there's more out there, but I don't know what it is. I just have this sense like, ooh, something wants to expand. Something wants to change up. Something wants to break out, but I just have this vague sense. And so just be with that and know that that feeling is your soul poking you. Okay. Come on, let's go play. Okay, you got this. You have passed second grade. Now you're going to be promoted to third grade. So let's go. I'm moving you to a new classroom now. But it may take a while. So that's just kind of you getting fair warning and notice. It's letting it arise within you. Because none of the stuff is like put on you by your soul or the universe or anything. It's like it arises like, oh, something. Yeah, let's see. There's something that wants to give. And yet then there's this the voice that says, well, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong here. Life is fine. Why am I complaining? What's wrong with me that I'm not satisfied? What's wrong with me that I'm not happy? Well, it's simply that your soul says, okay, been there, done that. Now let's move on. There's more. We're not staying here because there are more goodies to find. So notice that. So whenever anything arises in your life, whatever it is, notice it first. Pull back, unplug, whoop, unplug, drop down, and just notice that it is happening. Oh, I am feeling this. I notice that I am feeling this. Okay, what's that about? Begin to show me. Just like that. I mean, it's really very matter of fact and very calm. You don't have to make a big deal. Oh my God, I have to change. Something needs to change. I just, not calm down. Calm down. Just notice, okay, we're moving towards something here. Yeah, something wants to go. And you may not know what it is exactly. So then you just ask, show me where it is. Try on different scenarios. Do I need to move to a different place? Do I need a different job? Is it about my relationship? Am I just being called to get out more and not be such a hermit? Where does this change want to happen? What is it? How does it want to show up? Just ask the universe. Ask your soul. This is your soul calling it into being. So say, okay, partner, what do we do with this? And how does it want to show up? Show me. So it's really very, very matter of fact and very much a partnership. Okay, all right, what's it look like? So it will start. So then when you have sort of said, okay, I acknowledge that there's something moving in me and I don't exactly know what it is, or maybe you do know kind of what it's about. Maybe it's about your relationship or your job and you kind of know it, or, I think I really need to get out of this town and go live somewhere else, or, I want different kind of work, or I got to get out of this relationship because it's killing me. And I think it's done. It's not serving either of us. It's like, okay, fine. Notice that. That's your soul poking you and calling you. Your soul will give you next steps. You don't have to go knocking down fences and taking premature action. That's the ego. That's fear again. If I don't do something now, I miss the chance. That's fear. And that's the ego. So you don't feel pushed and pressured that you've got to do something, anything, just to make change. Just stop, just hold and notice. Just pull back, notice, keep doing what you're doing. Notice what feels good, notice what doesn't, and notice the opportunities and the aha moments that show up for you. Because they will. They will. When you ask from that kind of place, from that calm place, that sort of detached yet connected to your soul place. You're detached from your ego, you're connected to your soul. When you ask from that place, it's like, okay, what are you showing me here? I'm ready to see something so that I have a clue. And that's a very perfectly legitimate question. Perfectly legitimate question. So we ask, okay, what is poking at me? And you can even say, if you don't know, what's going on here? What do we need? And just try to notice where, then think about it, sit with it, during your meditation time. Where in your life do you start to feel that? So take some time. Where do I feel it? And maybe write down some things in a notebook. Things that flatten me. I did that actually. I found that not too long ago. Things that just sort of flatten my spirit. And things that make my eyebrows go up and my soul and heart go, aha. Write those things down too, because that's the universe and your soul showing you what you need and what you don't need, and what wants to change, and what you need and want more of in order to really live. So yeah, so just be with that until you notice something. Some door will open. And so as you get a clue of something that you need, okay, maybe you need more money, you need more satisfaction in your job, you need to feel free, you need to explore your own self and find out more about what makes you tick inside, and you just want to be done with this stuff and just go. Okay. Be with that and feel what it would feel like to be on the other side, to actually have accomplished that. Feel what it would feel like to be in a job or a relationship or living in a place where it feels good, and just kind of like, oh, yeah. And you kind of can see yourself interacting with people at work and feeling, yeah, I'm doing this, and oh, it's empowering, I'm helping others, I'm getting paid, I feel good about myself at the end of the day. Those kinds of things, or look where I'm living. It's so nurturing to my soul. Those kinds of things. Feel what it'll feel like to have already gotten there. And then notice, just notice the fear that sits in between that. And just take a look at that. Just notice it and acknowledge it and say to the universe, yeah, I see that. I feel that. That would be great. And I also see what's in between. I'm afraid, and I'm not really, I don't know that I can do this. I feel that I don't have what it takes to take that chance and push through. Be honest about what you're feeling. Don't pretend and don't hide, because the universe knows anyway. That's that appropriateness again. We even try to be appropriate with what we think the universe wants us to think and feel and act like. Realize that. Just own it. You know what? This scares the crap out of me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get from here to there. And frankly, I'm actually beginning to wonder if there's not some little niggly thing down working in me that maybe is saying, oh, you're not worthy of that. Oh, notice that program running. But you see, that's the universe showing you what's there when you can drop down into that unworthy thing. Like, oh, wow, yeah. Oh, yeah, I feel that. That poor kid. Oh, my God, yeah. Wow. And you just kind of bring that orphan part home. The one who's afraid, the one who doesn't feel worthy, who doesn't feel like they should. Just bring it home. Bring it home. And then keep talking to the universe and noticing what you feel. So when you acknowledge and you see the fear and the unwillingness, that's fine. That's your edge. That's your growing edge. That's your leading edge. Nothing happens in the middle. Everything is on the leading edge. It's on the cutting edge. And so when you put yourself out there and you see, you take a calculated risk, even by thinking these thoughts, that you could possibly have a life that looks like and feels like whatever. That's an edge. Because before you probably said, yeah, well, that ain't going to happen. So realize that and applaud yourself for even being willing to go there. And then if you feel stuck, well, I don't know what I want. I want something, and yeah, I want something, but I'm really stuck. I just feel stuck. And nothing's happening and nothing's showing up and nothing ever changes. I'm just stuck. And actually, I wrote this in January of 2016, that I was stuck. And what I wrote was, I actually wrote that the stuckness was my story. That I don't know what to do was in a way a story. Well, at that moment, I really didn't know what step to take. But I also had to recognize, how is the idea of being stuck serving me? Maybe it's protecting me from taking a step that I'm afraid to take. Well, I couldn't do that. I'm stuck. I can't take that. So your idea, you're kind of getting juice from your stuckness. And it actually, what is the stuckness protecting? What is the idea of being stuck protecting? That unworthiness? Probably. Probably. So be honest then. Be honest then with the universe. Just lay it out. Yeah, I'm feeling stuck, and it's possible that I'm getting some kind of payoff from this story about being stuck. And when you can admit that, it feels so good. So what little risk could you take today? I used to ask that. What's one thing I could do today to move forward a little bit? What is one little tiny safe and easy thing I could do today to move me off the dime? And then I'd noticed something, and it totally probably wasn't even related. It doesn't have to be related to, like that life goal at all, really. It's just something that challenges the status quo and says, yeah, okay, all right, you did something different. You did something different, and your brain didn't go, you didn't freak out, and you didn't shake up your life to a dangerous level before you know exactly what you're doing. But you broke it out. So taking a risk, what little risk you can take, what's easy and safe that I could do today? It's symbolic. It's not about what you're doing. It's the symbol of doing something. And that first risk, that starts your liberation. That starts the liberation. Because then the next day, it's like, oh, well, I did that. I can do this. Oh, yeah, something else will show up. And it starts building. And you start becoming liberated, and throwing the chains just fall away from you. And pretty soon, you're doing it. You're doing it. So remember, don't go looking for something. Don't force anything at this point. Just notice. Let it arise from within you as you're honest with the universe and say, wow, this, I'm feeling this, I'm desiring this, and yet I'm not sure, blah, blah, blah. I'm scared, I'm confused, all that stuff. Let the universe, let your soul bring it up within you, something that you can see, that you can do. You are in partnership with the universe and your soul. The universe is prompting you. We are the universe. The universe is us. I am nothing more than a point of awareness. That's all we are. We are points of awareness of the universe being aware of itself having experiences. There's no ownership here. We don't own this. We're not anything separate and distinct. We are part of the universe. We are the universe being aware of itself, experiencing as us. And so when we can get into that place, it really takes away a lot of the fear, because you kind of can't screw it up, which gives you a lot of courage about being a little bit outrageous and taking risks and having more fun and lightening up on ourselves, which is enormous. Lighten up. This is virtual reality. We're making it up. So we may as well have fun with it and not make it so arduous and dramatic. So just being willing. Just be willing to see something, to change something, to take some kind of risk. Maybe it's as stupid as using a different kind of salad dressing on your salad. Maybe it's as silly as having a salad instead of an extra helping of potatoes. I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Wear a different color than you usually wear. It doesn't matter as long as it is a conscious, I'm doing this to shake up normal. Doesn't matter. Play with it. Just play with it. So when you realize that, all you have to do is be willing for something. And a lot of times, and truly, this is so me. I posted a picture on the Facebook group last week of hurdlers, some successful and some not. But that was such a picture. I get these pictures in my head, and it's like, okay, when change was imminent for me, and yet I didn't know. It's like, okay, God, whatever. I am willing to be made willing. I'm willing to be made willing. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe I take a step back. It's like, okay, Okay, well, I'm willing to be made willing to be made willing somewhere down the road. Okay. All right. Okay. So as many willings as you need, add them on. It's like running up to a hurdle. Sometimes you need a long run up before you can clear the hurdle. And that's fine. There's no time, no space in the universe, the quantum. It's all now. And we have all eternity to unfold and blossom and expand into our magnificence. So as much time, as much space, as much lead room to get a running start on that thing, take it. The universe is going to give it to you. It's fine as long as you say, okay, I am willing to be made willing to be made willing to, maybe take this leap. Help me, help me, help me, help me to be made more willing. That's all we have to do. So then, and when you do that, watch for our little furry friends called the yabbats. So the yabbats are kind of like these yappity, 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 yabbat. Oh yeah, okay. So I need to do this. Oh God, I want to do this. All right, I'm gonna take a look. Yabbat. Well, then watch for these guys. They're related, but these guys I think are much more dangerous because they sit there and they're very well, they're called the reasons why not. And whereas the yabbats are kind of like this, the reasons why not are very proper. They're very logical and they have things very well thought out. It's like, well, have you considered this? Or, well, if you did that, then more likely than not, this would happen. And who do you think you are thinking that you could do that? So the reasons why not, or that whole idea of shaking things up. Oh, we don't shake things up. And so we go home, we think about it. We go back, we think about it and think about it and think about it until we could come up with one reason that sounds very logical, very clear, very factual, makes perfect sense why we should not make the change that we're being drawn to make. Back when I was selling real estate in Scottsdale, before I changed my life and came up here, I had a client and he was referred to me by his family and financial advisor. He had inherited a trust fund from his father, and he was a very nerdy engineer. Probably had some like Asperger's, a little bit on the autism spectrum, not social, and he'd been living in a one-bedroom apartment. I think they said he had, I never saw it, he had like with card table and a folding chair and packing boxes. And he'd been living like that for years. And they said he needs, he's got all this money, he's got to do something with it. He needs to buy a house. So he went out and we looked at houses and looked at houses and looked at houses. And we found just what he said he wanted, just exactly his list. And he said, well, I have to go think about it. So he would go home and he would think about it and until he came up with a reason why he should not buy that house. And they were usually really lame and very, very fixable. But he couldn't pull the trigger. It was too threatening to him to get out of the literal box that he was living in. And he probably never saw himself as worthy and able to expand into a space and to feel expanded and happy. And so he continued to live in the box and used the reasons why not to justify his fear. So watch where we justify our fears with the old data and the reasons why not. So I think that is good for now. And I hope that that this gave you a lot of food for thought and some other ways of looking at yourself, your life, and approaching the idea of creating change. And again, and being compassionate with ourselves. Being so compassionate with ourselves as we undertake these really monumental strides to change who we are and how we interact with life and with ourselves. This changes everything. What you're doing here, what you're learning here, has the potential to transform your lives in ways that you have absolutely no idea. We cannot imagine what's on the other side of these barriers of where we are now. We don't have a paradigm yet for what that would be like. I never thought that I would be doing this, especially starting at the age at which I started. It's absolutely astounding to me who I am now. So what you're experiencing with me is that you are actually experiencing the fruit of this. I'm doing this. What I'm teaching you, I'm doing now as I talk to you. That I'm stepping out. I waited a long time to be able to do this. And when the timing was right, it happened effortlessly. So know that whatever the dream is that's cooking in you, you don't have to force a premature birth. It's not going to go away. Be honest with the universe. Be kind, compassionate, and gentle with yourself. And notice and just be aware. Because you will step into a greater experience of life that you have no idea, beyond your ability to imagine. Imagine as far as you can and know that it'll be even farther than that. So blessings, everyone. Be sure to take some time to process these things and sit with them and write out some stuff that lands for you and how you can apply it. And then also, I'd love to hear from you. Email me what's going on with you, what you're working with, your ahas, your points of struggle. And I'm very happy to work with you and to communicate with you. And I'm so grateful for this time. So blessings to you all. Great blessings. So it is.